Good morning. Looks like we've got a nice list of participants here and a minute or two after 8. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. I would like to point out that this session is being recorded and will be available on the BGR website following the event. My name is Hunter Hill. I'm a member of the BGR Board of Directors and Chairman of the Breakfast Briefing Committee. I'm pleased to welcome you to BGR's second virtual breakfast briefing of 2021. BGR is a private, nonprofit, independent research organization dedicated to inform public policy making and the effective use of public resources for the improvement of government in the New Orleans metropolitan area. BGR's research, reports, and government monitoring are hallmarks of its public policy work in Jefferson, Orleans, and St. Tammany parishes. Breakfast briefings further BGR's mission by bringing citizens and policymakers together to discuss issues affecting all of our lives. We encourage you to share this event on social media with others who may be interested. Please mention @BGRNOLA and use the hashtag BGRBriefing. If you'd like to submit a question for our speaker today, you can do so through the Q&A icon at the bottom center of your screen. Just click on the icon, type your question in the box, and hit return. We thank you for responding so enthusiastically to this event and for staying engaged in the public policy discussions important to our community. And we hope to see you again at future BGR breakfast briefings, whether in person or virtual. Here to introduce our topic this morning and then moderate the Q&A portion is Amy Glavinsky, BGR's President and CEO. Amy?
Thank you, Hunter. I'd like to first express our gratitude to IBERIABANK First Horizon for so generously sponsoring BGR's breakfast briefing series again this year. Your support allows us to create these free events for citizens. We welcome everyone who has joined us today and encourage you to visit our website, bgr.org, where you can access our report library. It includes more than 200 public policy reports that BGR has produced over the past 25 years. And now for an introduction to today's topic. Troy Carter was elected to Congress in April and has taken office as Congress continues to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. Already this year, it approved the American Rescue Plan Act, which provides unprecedented financial aid to address health and economic impacts of the pandemic. Just last week, the Senate passed a bipartisan $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. The bill now goes to the House, where Congressman Carter serves on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. In addition, he and the other members are working to identify pandemic-related recovery projects in their districts for potential federal funding. And Congressman Carter stays involved in business recovery needs as a member of the House's Small Business Committee. Beyond federal funding, there are certainly other legislative priorities for the residents of Louisiana's 2nd District. The district spans 10 parishes along the Mississippi River, from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. It is a unique district to serve, and Congressman Carter brings extensive legislative experience to the task. In 1991, following 6 years as executive assistant to New Orleans Mayor Sidney Barthélemy, Mr. Carter won election to represent Algiers in the Louisiana House. In 1994, he was elected to the New Orleans City Council representing District C, where he served for 8 years. In 2015, voters elected him to State Senate District 7, representing Algiers and parts of Jefferson and Plaquemine parishes. He was the first African-American elected to each of those specific state and local offices. Here today to discuss the 2nd District's needs and his legislative priorities is Congressman Troy Carter. Following his presentation, we will have time for questions from the audience. Congressman Carter, thank you tremendously for joining us today. The BGR breakfast briefing floor is yours.
Hunter and Amy, thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you today. I am honored to have the opportunity to share with you during this exchange. I'd like to thank you for the work that you have done. I've been a policymaker my entire life. This is what I do. This is what I enjoy. Public service is something I learned at a very young age from a mother who taught us the importance of giving back. And it's something that I have enjoyed for many years. It's difficult. There are challenges. but there's no greater reward than serving the people and being a part of the solution and bringing meaningful discussion to complex issues, just as you've done in BGR. We greatly appreciate the great work that BGR has done, the work that you give, the volunteer efforts, the technology and the smarts and the background that you provide in researching and vetting is a tool that's very important to government. We may not always agree, but we always welcome the discourse, always welcome the opportunity to vet and to find ways to make things better. Your work to bring credible, objective analysis and reports to New Orleans metro area is so very important. And I say thank you for the work that you've done and continue to do. And I thank you for allowing me to be with you today. We find ourselves in a very difficult and challenging time. COVID-19 pandemic has changed so much in New Orleans and the areas around us and in our country. You don't need me to tell you this. You see it every day. We all felt the fear, uncertainty, disappointment, exhaustion, and tragically, grief that this virus has brought to our community. Now we face yet another difficult wave of cases here in Louisiana, in large part due to Delta variant and our low statewide vaccination rate. For some to suggest that this is political, this is party-driven, is unfortunate. COVID recognizes no race, no party, no ideological differences. If truly there's a time for us to come together and band together and protect each other, now is it. To make sure that we have a robust economy, that we have safe communities, safe schools. Recognizing the importance of following the science is very important. To do what's right, to provide and to care for the greater health of our community is something that's so critically important. We have the 4th lowest vaccination rate per capita in the entire country. And now our beloved state is setting new records in the worst possible way. Hospital beds are full, healthcare workers are exhausted, neighborhoods, kids, and elderly are dying. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to this tragedy. It's not commonplace, it's not every day, and we have to remain vigilant. Disaster strike teams like those usually deployed after a storm are now helping at Our Lady of the Lake Hospital in Baton Rouge. I understand across Louisiana, staffing is the biggest challenge facing our healthcare system. I thank these healthcare professionals for all their work, and I stand ready to fight to send more federal resources, like the strike teams, to help in these difficult times. But one thing is very different between last spring and now. We have the tools we need to save lives. We have 3 safe and effective vaccines, which have proven to be extremely powerful in preventing hospitalization and death from the virus, even this Delta variant. We don't just have vaccines, we also have masks, physical distancing. These tools we use in concert will save lives and is proven to save lives. Vaccines are our way out of this pandemic. Every shot in the arm is a step toward a future that is not constrained by this virus. And for those who can't get vaccinated or who aren't yet, masking up is the best. If they aren't yet ready to, masking up is the best way, not just to protect your neighbors, but to protect yourself and your family and those who are most vulnerable, those with underlying issues. Vaccines makes a physical distancing are very available and free. We should practice distancing, we should practice masking, and we should certainly get vaccinated as soon as we possibly can. Throughout these difficult times, we've seen many instances of beloved community coming together to help each other, from food drives to celebrations of our brave healthcare workers. When we go home, they come in. When we protect ourselves, they go in to make sure we're protected. We can't thank them enough for the incredible work that they do. We've seen this in Congress, where we have a tug of war, sometimes on our philosophical beliefs, sometimes on our ideological beliefs. But when it comes to those things of importance like public safety, health, we don't have the luxury to be divided. I've taken this message to the nation's capital, as I've done throughout my entire career, to try to bridge the gap. It's fine to have party pride. It's fine to believe in the ideological views of your particular party, but it's not fine to put those party views ahead of what's good for the people at large. There's plenty of time for us to debate on those issues of significance as it relates to our political beliefs. Now's not that time. Now's the time that we work together. We've worked particularly hard with the American Rescue Plan, a transformative infusion of funds into the national recovery during this unexpected and yes, unprecedented moment. I'm saddened that this extraordinary moment didn't spur my colleagues and friends on the other side of the aisle to bring partisan lines for the sake of the people who vote for the American Rescue Plan. I'm hopeful that that will change. This legislation has been a lifeline for so many Americans. I'm glad to be in Congress to support its implementation. In a time of uncertainty, the American Rescue Plan provided some valuable aspects of certainty. From a third round of economic impact stimulus payments to funds for schools to help reopen safely, stay open, and make up for lost time for our young people. From funds for colleges, universities, state and local government, American Rescue Plan monies are being used to increase access to COVID-19 vaccines, testing, tracing, treatment, PPE, and much more. Something very exciting is our effort to raise families and children out of poverty. The child tax credit. The American Rescue Plan has also included child tax credit, which I would argue is the most important initiative to end child poverty since the 1960s. Every family with a kid under the age of 18 receives $250 to $300 per month. No strings attached, no acceptance, no denial. If you have children, you fall in the category with the ability to get resources to help these children, to buy groceries, to buy books and clothing, to provide for them so they start the school year fresh, that they have a better shot at healthy diets, opportunities to grow and be productive parts of our society. I've been hosting town halls to help get the word out about this program. We just had another telephone town hall last night where we had a robust participation. Prior to the onset of the new Delta variant, we had 3 face-to-face town halls throughout the district, which were participated greatly. Excellent exchange, an opportunity for me to exchange with members of the community, to listen, to talk, to exchange, and to share views and ideas and demonstrate that government is here to serve and to work for the people. A constituent named Deshawn attended and said that she plans to spend funds on school supplies and school uniforms. She said, we have to sacrifice to get these things done. But thanks to this child tax credit, she's been able to purchase school supplies with so much less stress than she's had in the past. For parents who are struggling, the beginning of school year signifies a very difficult time. Yes, because they see their young ones go off to school, but also because it's often a struggle to be able to provide the resources to make sure that they start the year off correctly. We know that youth can be sometimes challenging and can sometimes be mean to each other. And we know that bullying takes place when kids don't come to school with nice clothes or a new book bag. Those things that we sometimes take for granted are things that are very important to the development of our young people. I'm so proud that through this child tax credit, we're able to provide resources that every child is able to start school with the necessary requirements that they need to start off the school year. Hardworking Americans should not have to sacrifice to buy school supplies. That's not the way it should be. The child tax credit will help. Black, white, Republican, Democrat. It's an American thing, not a party thing. It's a Louisiana thing, not a political thing. A stunning 90.2% of children in my district will gain from the expanded and improved child tax credit. Some 162,000 children. The average annual benefit for 44,600 households is $3,200. That's life-changing for many people. Families with children in poverty will receive $5,100 on an average. That means this policy will lift 22,700 children in Louisiana District 2, my congressional district, out of poverty. That will have a lifelong impact on the health and well-being of these children, breaking the poverty cycle in Louisiana, which uplifts all of our community. If you have kids under the age of 16 and haven't received 2 child tax credits at this point, the first one should have been on July 15th and the other just a few days ago, feel free to reach out to my office and we will assist in getting those payments that you so deserve. My website is troycarter.house.gov. Be on the watch for scammers, however. Remember, the IRS is only an agency dispersing the payments, and they do not typically contact beneficiaries, nor do they send emissaries out to obtain your personal information. Unfortunately, there are scammers who try to take advantage of these situations. We caution you to be careful. Healthcare in the American Rescue Plan. Additionally, the American Rescue Plan looks at healthcare holistically and works off of a value that in a pandemic, healthcare should be more affordable than ever. Now we have more people covered. 31 million Americans have coverage through the Affordable Care Act, with more than 1 million new enrollees since Democrats lowered the premiums in February. We see lower premiums. The American Rescue Plan lowered premiums by 9 million Americans who buy their coverage through the Affordable Care Act. This saves lives on an average of $50 per person per month. This is a big deal. For some, it may seem like $50 is not a big deal. But for people who are barely getting by, people who are unemployed, or in many cases underemployed, an additional $50 savings means oftentimes the difference of what you might have for dinner, or if you can get your prescription drugs filled or pay a light bill. These are important measures that sometimes we take for granted. I will tell you, as I've gone through this district and met with many people of all races and all backgrounds, people are struggling. There are difficult times out there, and we have to stay attuned. We have to stay connected to recognize that people need our help and they expect government to chime in, to create economic development, not handouts, hand-ups, creating jobs, creating opportunities so people can take care of themselves, to create business opportunities and work opportunities, environments that are safe from environmental injustice, safe from crime, safe from racism and bigotry. It's 2021 and it's time that we together, BGR, government, community, business, clergy, nonprofit, philanthropic, academia, all come together to recognize that we are one, whether we like it or not. We are one, and we all have to be a part of the solution. Since April 1st, the median deductible for Americans signing up for new coverage of healthcare has dropped by nearly 90%, from $450 to just about $50. That's incredible. The American Rescue Plan has also spent funding directly to community health centers in Louisiana, over $95 million. Community health centers serve some of the most underserved and underinsured communities in our area. Investing in them is an effective way to combat persistent health inequities, an effort that is more important now than ever. I will work to ensure the citizens of LAO2 will have access to every single tool provided for the economic recovery of the American Rescue Plan. My door is always open. Even during these times, my virtual door is always open. However, we have other opportunities to do great things for the American people and for New Orleans and the surrounding area and the district that I am so blessed to serve. I hope my colleagues will get on board and will help move this community forward, push this infrastructure bill to its conclusion. This bipartisan infrastructure package is a proud example of how we can work together. It shows that bipartisanship is not dead. Our great senator did an incredible thing when stepping up and proving that it's not Republican or Democrat. Senator Cassidy stood in the gap and provided great leadership to provide the leadership to say that infrastructure of all things should not be partisan. We have crumbling bridges and roads that are in disrepair. We know that a robust infrastructure plan will create jobs and opportunities for our community that we have long needed. This strong showing of bipartisanship is a departure from political games and displays of renewed focus on delivering for the American people. It's long past time for a game-changing investment in our nation's infrastructure. I hope my Republican colleagues in the House will join the leadership of Senator Cassidy when recognizing the importance of working together, especially in our neighborhoods here in Louisiana. We put aside partisanship and we vote for the powerful investment in making Louisiana work, like we saw our great Senator Cassidy do in the United States Senate. A robust infrastructure plan for America is a win-win. While we improve daily life for Americans, we create tens of thousands of good-paying jobs while supporting American industry. In Louisiana, there are some 1,600 bridges and over 3,400 miles of highways in disrepair and poor condition, in need of an infusion of infrastructure dollars to repair and maintain their credibility. We can and we must do better. In 2011, the commute times had increased by 9.3% in Louisiana on average. Each driver pays $667 per year in costs due to the conditions of our roads and bridges that are in disrepair. The infrastructure package is expected to bring $4.8 billion for federal highways, apportioned programs of $1.013 billion for bridge replacement over 5 years, $470 million over 5 years to improve public transportation options, $3.5 billion that will go toward flood mitigation, and $109 million for Louisiana core federal projects to dredge and repair damage caused by Hurricane Laura, Delta, and Zeta. $100 million to help provide broadband coverage across the state, including providing access to at least 470,000 Louisianians who currently lack it. In 2021, having access to broadband is as necessary as indoor plumbing and electricity. We know now that in 2021 with COVID, that our life may never be the same, that we will always have a dependency on communication through Zoom or Teams or through distant learning. Yet many families, this is not available, either through economic means or because the hardware and infrastructure simply isn't in place. With the American Rescue Plan, this will be corrected, and we'll be able to bring this valuable tool to the homes of everyone in America and in those rural areas that are so desperately lacking. 37.2% of people will be eligible for connectivity, even those people who are financially challenged. $580 million over 5 years to improve water infrastructure across the state and ensure that clean drinking water will be a right for all communities. This bucket of funding will allow us to upgrade the aging sewage and water board facilities in our region. President Biden came to New Orleans to highlight these old systems as just the type of problem this bill can solve. While some of these things like sewage and water board and drainage will be put in the state's revolving fund later this year, other funds for bridges and roads are likely to be a few years off with allocations. The time frame will depend on permitting and planning for these projects. But infrastructure cannot be the end point of the conversation about rebuilding our economy. We can and we must think big. We must work hard and step up to those things that demand our attention. We once had an opportunity to have rapid rail between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, and the lack of wisdom of powers that be at that time turned those funds down. We now have the opportunity to recapture that, to lessen the strain of our highways, to lessen our carbon footprint by taking more vehicles off the road, by making sure that we're paying attention to the infrastructure needs of those who live in areas that are heavily burdened with industry. I happen to believe and have said all along that industry and community can and must coexist, but it will happen with the effective enforcement and making sure that people that live in those communities don't have to die for their jobs, that we have the kind of effective enforcement that people can live and work together, that we can have the kind of environmental use of technology to protect the environment and to protect the people while still protecting our industry. This can, will, must be done. Too many people fall through the cracks that aren't in the mainstream, but we have social nets to help with that. The budget resolution, first step toward life-changing programs like free community college, continuation of expanding child tax credit, expanded Medicare to include dental and vision coverage, and much more. Housing. Congress has authorized $46 billion to fund the local and state governments to help people stay in their homes through both rental, mortgage, and small landlord assistance. The assistance that comes for people who have been devastated, who lost their jobs, who can no longer afford to pay rent, but yes, also for those landlords who have mortgages to make, or those landlords who depend on rent payments to provide for their families. This $46 billion is designed to help both those who are in need of rent relief and those who are in need of maintaining their properties and their lifestyles as well. The difficulty in rolling out these funds is something that we have to work on. We have to work with our local government, with our state government and our parishes to make sure that there is an efficient flow of how these dollars can reach the people. As of July 30th, the state of Louisiana Treasury Emergency Rental Program has disbursed approximately $18 million in rental assistance. This has had an important impact on 3,500 tenants, and yet there's just a fraction of what Louisiana needs and what we hope to help with. This issue came to a head last month when CDC's nationwide eviction ended, leaving an estimated 6 million households nationwide at risk of eviction. We're still in the midst of a deadly pandemic and millions of Americans unvaccinated and vulnerable. Thankfully, President Biden took action to extend the eviction moratorium, supposedly for a final time, to ensure that the public health and safety of millions of families. We're hopeful that that $46 billion that has been dispersed will get into the hands of those renters and landlords so they will be able to maintain their properties and people will not suffer insult to injury to be evicted at a time when we're at our country's greatest challenge. It's not a permanent solution, but will allow states and local communities time to distribute these funds and make sure that the funds are in hand until we continue to build an economy that will allow people to fend for themselves, that we increase the minimum wage and create the kind of opportunities that people can go to work and feel good about the jobs they do and feel good about the check that they bring home to provide for their family. If given the opportunity to go to work or to simply get a check to stay home, I believe that the American people will take the opportunity to show up and to be paid a fair wage for a fair day's work. It's only right. It's a basic ask, and we have to answer. People deserve the opportunity to care for themselves, to provide resources for their family. This infrastructure plan does that. As we build roads and bridges, infrastructure throughout our state, we also create good paying jobs that will give people an opportunity to stand up, to provide for their families and have the sense of pride that all Americans should enjoy. We just need to continue to cut through red tape, build beyond the issues of partisanship, and make it happen for the people of America and for the people of Louisiana. I'm so proud to have been appointed to the Transportation Infrastructure Bill. So proud to have had the opportunity to be a part of this discussion and to continue to be a part of this discussion. Happy to be appointed to small business. Some may argue that apart from jazz, small businesses are the backbone and the heart of our soul, of our economy. We know that our culture, our history, our food, our architecture are all important things. And the backbone of that is our small businesses. But for many, our local favorites have been hit hard by the pandemic. Our culture bearers, our artisans have all been hit very hard. Our economy, our people, in every possible way. Luckily, federal programs are here to provide help. The American Rescue Plan included $50 billion in funding to help small businesses survive this tumultuous time. The pandemic has shown us that how valuable small businesses are to our nation and our economy. Through the American Rescue Plan, we have provided $1.2 billion for the SBA Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, $15 billion for the Targeted Economic Injury Disaster Loan and Advance Program, billions more in Paycheck Protection Program, increased from $806 billion to $813.7. Increased funding of these essential programs are critical and have been in helping small businesses recover from the pandemic and help build back better. As a member of the Small Business Committee, I will always support efforts to improve these programs, give relief to all business owners, from smallest to small businesses, those operated in underserved communities. These are definitely the way that we are going to process and improve, including technology. Additionally, I am focused on bringing more equity to the process, both in terms of racial equity and smaller, locally owned businesses. We saw this issue here in New Orleans. We know that we can do better. I want to take this moment to a personal privilege and let you know that the National Small Business Virtual Week is set for September 13th through the 15th. This event is free and will include educational webinars, updates, small business resources, and network chat opportunities. Register today at sba.gov/NSBW. We're proud that we've had increase in SNAP benefits. There's been a lot of dark news recently, so I want to make sure that we share some good news. One longtime piece of our social strategy and safety net has gotten stronger. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack announced this week that benefits among the programs formerly known as food stamps will rise from 25% above pandemic levels. That means people have the opportunity to provide for their families yet again, that effort to pull people out of poverty, because if we take care of the least of these, we take care of all of us, and that's critically important. On an average monthly benefit, which was $121 per person, now will rise by $36 over the new rules. $36 may not seem a lot to most of us, but for many families, an extra $36 in food benefits is an increase in the lifeline. This investment in SNAP is a game changer in the battle against hunger, poverty in my district and throughout the state of Louisiana, which will receive the biggest share of the funds of all congressional districts in Louisiana. These expanded SNAP benefits are long overdue realignment to reflect with the cost of living and groceries and the increase of what it's required to care for your family. There's so much that we can talk about. There's so many things that we can continue to work together on. I'm proud to have introduced a bill that will forgive up to $50,000 in federal student loans for all federal borrowers. And we talk about a stimulus. Here's a novel idea. Instead of giving a one-time check or a two-time check, how about allowing individuals who have student debt, who borrowed money to educate themselves to be more productive citizens? How about giving them the opportunity to forgive those loans, to start a business, to buy a home, to be a part of a process of really recycling those dollars in our community? What a novel idea. We forgive loans all the time. We forgive loans to small countries. We forgive loans to organizations, to industry. How about giving an opportunity for the American people to be enriched? This is what this is all about. I've had such a great opportunity being with you, and I've got so much more to say. Time gets away from us fast. We have incredible priorities, making sure that we have transportation, flood protection, environmental justice, criminal justice reform, economic development, creating strong bonds where people can create their own lives, their own American stories of success and wealth and coming together. I thank you, BGR, for what you do. I invite you to be a partner with me as we collectively work together to make Louisiana better, to continue to build on the successes that we've had and learn from the mistakes that we've made. I'm grateful to have this opportunity. I'm grateful to serve you, and I look so forward to partnering with you as we go forward to make Louisiana the great state that we know it can be.
Thank you, Congressman Carter. Thank you for that perspective and for the information you've shared and for your insights. In keeping with BGR tradition, we are now going to shift to audience Q&A. We have some questions that have been submitted in advance, and we're also able to receive them live today. For those of you in the audience, if you'd like to submit a question, as a reminder, you can do so by accessing the Q&A icon in the bottom center of your screen, typing in your question and hitting return, and we will be able to consider it on our end. So Congressman Carter, we have a number of questions that have come in, and I'll start with this one. How did you develop your list of projects for community project funding requests, also known as earmarks?
Primarily through, we had what I considered a listening tour. And in that listening tour, we went throughout the state during the election, and we heard from small parishes and small communities. We heard from larger communities, and we pulled through those resources and those needs to make sure that we had an evaluation of trying to get resources that would stem and be a catalyst for further economic development. Also, those that would prevent the drain of deferred maintenance because these projects have been on the back burner for so long. Obviously, when we have limited dollars and billions of needs, it's not easy. And we've endeavored to take the politics out of these and to listen to groups, individuals, nonprofits, community groups, economic engines to talk about how we can deal with safety, economic development, and applying pressure to those things that are greatly needed. I continue to have an open door. Many people have written and called. Many of these projects have been on waiting lists for a very long time. And we simply began to look at them and reevaluate where they are and put them back in line for funding. And we invite that level of participation going forward from individuals and or groups like BGR to share with us where the needs are. You're in the vineyards every day. These are things that you do. So we greatly depend on participation from groups like yours.
And for citizens who want to understand where your current list is, what projects are currently on your list, is there some place they can go to find it?
Yes, they can go to our website, and that would be available on the website, and I'm more than happy to help direct. And if there's any questions, we're happy to visit with or have staff assigned to further explain that to them.
Thank you. We heard you talk about the importance of job growth and job creation, and we have an audience member that's asking about a particular sector. They ask, what will you do to promote our U.S. shipbuilding and merchant marine industries, which provide Americans with good paying jobs and support our national security? Are these industries a priority for you?
These industries are very important to us. We have an important and very powerful port that I have been a huge supporter of. We know our shipbuilding is an incredible asset for the state of Louisiana. Our maritime business and maritime industry is very, very significant, and we must remain competitive. And it is, in fact, something that I am incredibly supportive of and stand ready to assist. I've worked very closely with the Port of New Orleans and will continue to, the Port of Southeast Louisiana, and all of our ports throughout Louisiana, and our maritime industry, and the utilization of our mighty Mississippi is one that I hold very, very personal.
Are there other sectors that you prioritize or see as the highest opportunity for job creation and job growth?
Yeah, I think when we think about the highest opportunity, it folds right into infrastructure, because what infrastructure does for us, in addition to fixing our crumbling infrastructure, we're providing jobs and opportunity. When we talk about rapid rail between New Orleans to Baton Rouge, we're shrinking our footprint so people have the ability to move faster up and down the state to access jobs and opportunity. We reduce the carbon footprint of having vehicles on the road. We decrease the stress on our infrastructure. But when we talk about how we put people back to work and we make it easier to get to and from our major business centers, we create an opportunity for small businesses, medium businesses, and we hope to attract larger businesses coming to this region because they recognize that we're smart on infrastructure, that we're smart on transportation, that we're smart on technology, that we're smart on education, that we're smart on crime prevention. These are all things that will have people recognize that this region is open for business and we're ready to receive them. So there's no magic wand, but there are multiple steps to getting there. And we do that through the magic of this infrastructure opportunity. This is not something new. We've been talking about an infrastructure package for many, many years. I'm very grateful that we're finally at a place that it's going to happen.
So we heard you talk earlier about the American Rescue Plan Act, and as you and our audience members may know, BGR issued a short report about this in June where we emphasized planning and analysis and accountability and oversight, and it's certainly an important topic locally. And we have an audience member that's raising a particular concern. They note that there is local concern that Congress might redirect some of the ARPA funding originally allocated to state, parish, and municipal governments to other purposes, such as paying for the infrastructure bill. What have you heard about this? And do you think it's likely that the funds could be redirected?
Well, first of all, there's so many moving parts as it relates to what's happening with the ARP funds. It is one of those things that, you know, there are people that have different ideas, different philosophies, and quite frankly, some have thrown mud at the wall with hopes that they can cloud the issue. Listen, this infrastructure plan and the American Rescue Plan is very simple. It's designed to help the American people. It is a issue that is so desperately needed. And I don't pretend to know what's in the hearts and minds of those who may want to create some subterfuge, if you will. I do know that there are enough of us, Republicans and Democrats, that recognize that the American Rescue Plan is a bipartisan effort to save many people's lives and to create opportunities that have thus far been left behind. As it is or paid for, we can deal with most of those things during reconciliation. The finer points can be dealt with in reconciliation, those things that may have been removed, those things that may have been tweaked. There's going to be a lot of discussion. There'll be a lot of discussion. And the good thing, it's all public. I'll continue to come back and brief you as we go. It is very much a work in progress. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of issues that still have to be ferreted out. The bill that we sent over to the Senate came back in a different way. We've got $1.2 trillion and we should not throw away good in search of perfect. We should continue to build on getting to perfect, but we should also recognize and celebrate the progress that we have thus far. And I can't thank Senator Cassidy enough for his efforts in a bipartisan way to demonstrate that this is bigger than any party.
Thank you. So shifting gears, what are your big takeaways from the recently released 2020 census data, particularly as it relates to Louisiana and your district?
Well, we've grown. We've gained numbers, and that's encouraging. That's encouraging. That means we pick up population, we pick up additional funding. Our districts will all change, and that's why we have a census every 10 years. That's why we reapportion. And we should embrace that, not run from it. When we have greater numbers, we have greater dollars. Having people properly counted and accounted for demonstrates the ability for us to gain additional funding, additional representation. And I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged that the numbers have grown, and very, very optimistic about our growth potential of people recognizing that Louisiana is open for business and people want to live here. And we have to keep building on that. And we only do that through making sure that we have environments that are safe, that we have economies that are robust, that we have educational systems that are open, that our children are getting the best shot at education, and making sure that we have safe communities free of crime. This is a role that local, state, and federal government have to partner to continue to improve on.
And pausing for a moment on your observation about the importance of public education. We have an audience member that has asked, what are your legislative priorities for improving Louisiana's education outcomes?
You know, one of which is, as I've already mentioned, is making sure that we, as we have done, to continue to provide resources for our colleges, our universities, our community college systems. We know that everyone isn't going to go to a traditional 4-year college or even a 2-year college. We should create opportunities for people to gain skills, to have an opportunity to be a part of the economic mainstream. And through our efforts, through the American Rescue Plan, we'll be funding resources into our educational system, working with our local and state stakeholders, making sure that this divide of charter versus traditional quickly goes away. Because what's most important is that our children are getting the absolute best shot at a good education. And unfortunately, far too many politics have been at play. Resources that make every classroom equal, make sure that every child has opportunity to access to technology, computers, and the best possible instruction is something that I've always fought for. And as a federal member of Congress, I'll continue to fight for those funds to work with local and state stakeholders.
Here, an audience member is asking about the technology sector. And they say, how will you assist in securing funding for the technology sector, seeing as it has one of the highest paying averages listed on Louisiana workforce, but lowest expectations for job growth in the state? Training and education. Technology companies tend to want to be where people are agile and adept and adroit to technological advances. So yesterday we cut ribbon on the Center of Excellence in Algiers at Federal City in conjunction with the Algiers Development District and Delgado Community College, a 35,000 square foot center of excellence that will concentrate on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. So our young people have an opportunity to start training to catch up with other parts of the world where this is more commonplace, where we concentrate on education in science, technology, engineering, and math. So companies will know that we have a plethora of individuals ready to assume the jobs. It's those kind of investments that give us the ability and the one-up to have a prepared workforce and to have a technologically friendly community that we are perfectly suited to have. DTX came here a few years ago, employed a great deal of people, been a great part of downtown New Orleans. We're grateful that they recognize the value of being in our city. And now we're doubling down on that, if you will, by creating educational and academic opportunities for our people to be prepared and trained for these opportunities. Here we have a question that pertains to the New Orleans Sewage and Water Board. And this audience member observes your community project funding includes $12 million for the Sewage and Water Board, $12 million for the Sewage and Water Board, but much more is needed to improve the utilities infrastructure. How can the utility best position itself to become a recipient of these community project funds and possibly other federal funds intended for infrastructure improvement? So a critical issue, and how could it maximize the benefit of what's happening right now in DC?
Absolutely. We're very fortunate several months ago to have the President of the United States of America to come to the 2nd Congressional District to tour the plants, the stations, to see the challenges that are there, to firsthand have an opportunity to tour and to walk through and to see and understand that New Orleans is a great city. We're a city that's aged. We're a city that has infrastructure that has been in need of repair for many, many years. We've seen the proverbial kicking of the can Well, now I dare say that we've kicked the can against the wall and we have nowhere else to go. So this administration has recognized the need for substantial infusion of cash. So there's no need longer for an education on it. The administration is laser focused. I and the delegation understand the importance of fixing our crumbling infrastructure. And I think New Orleans and the New Orleans Sewage and Water Board is superbly positioned to get substantial infusion of resources to fix our crumbling infrastructure, because we know that the flooding that we see, the sinkholes that we see, the problem with drainage that we see won't get better. They won't get better with continued deferred maintenance. Now is the time, and I'm very happy and very optimistic that the funds are here to help us start to finally put our arms around this age-old problem of infrastructure with our sewage and water board.
Thank you. Here, an audience member is asking, what approach should the state legislature take to redistricting, and what are your key redistricting concerns? So related to our earlier discussion about the census data.
You know, redistricting is a little bit like you hear people say legislation is like watching sausage being made. And redistricting is like watching sausage being made on steroids. It's a highly charged process, very political, and it should be just the opposite. It's science. It's numbers. We should look at the science. We should follow the science. We can look at the numbers and make sure that they're apportioned fairly. It is a deliberative process and a deliberative body. I would caution my friends, having gone through reapportionment as an elected person. I know the challenges that are there. I would encourage that there's public input, that there are public hearings, that people have an opportunity to see this process in open light, that there are discussions about where we're going, how we make sure that all segments of our community is properly represented, to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to be heard, and to make sure that this is a process that's transparent. Much of what causes the issues in government and the distrust that's fostered is because we're not as transparent and as open as we could and should be with the American people or the Louisiana people, to let them know that there's no cloak and dagger, or there certainly shouldn't be, and we should invite the public in to be a part of the process. So my recommendation would be that we have a transparent process, that we have a fair process, and that we follow the science. Our numbers have grown, and we make adjustments accordingly.
Here we have an audience member that's asking, what money will you secure for Lincoln Beach to ensure that it's opened up for working class families to enjoy?
I had the opportunity to visit Lincoln Beach during my campaign many years ago when I was on the city council in the mid-90s. We started an effort to rebuild Lincoln Beach. Not sure exactly what happened when I left. It did not continue. But I will tell you, during this congressional race, there's been a great deal of renewed interest because of great individuals. There's a guy named Reggie and a guy named Sage, and these guys go out there every day and they're cleaning up the community on their own dime. They're out there, they're removing trash, they're removing refuse, and they're bringing light to this great project. I've committed that I will work with local and state officials to make sure that that whatever we can do to bring that catalyst back to Eastern New Orleans. We know that Eastern New Orleans is a great part of our community. We also know that in order for it to really enjoy its rightful place, we have to create some economic catalysts, some opportunities for other businesses to want to come. Lincoln Beach is an exciting and perfect example. So the answer to the question is, I will fight to work with local developers, to work with the city and state, and to provide resources hopefully through this infrastructure package. We have money that is designed for economic development. We know that there's programs that are going on for Jazzland. We're hopeful that these types of things can bring the kind of excitement that will make a Jazzland or a Jazzland type or some type of development at that Jazzland site will make Lincoln Beach yet another great inducement and opportunity for economic development. Bayou Sauvage, We have a beautiful, beautiful refuge there. We're hopeful that we'll be able to put federal dollars to have it recognized as a reserve. So we can highlight again some of the nature and natural things of our beauty in Eastern New Orleans that again will be a part of fitting perfectly with the former site of Jazzland, with the site of Lincoln Beach, Bayou Rivage. I keep saying that. The Bayou Savage, and the opportunities to really build on that beautiful natural asset that we have here in Louisiana. Lincoln Beach is a home run. Lincoln Beach will revitalize Eastern New Orleans, and Lincoln Beach will give us the opportunity to have the surrounding areas once again come to enjoy some of our natural beauty.
Okay, so we're nearing the end of our program, but I'm going to fit in one more question. Congressman Carter, what is your forecast for continued bipartisanship? And in what particular areas or on what particular topics do you expect that citizens will see it again?
You know, I am a hopeless optimist. My optimism is that we will continue to get better, that we will not let talking heads divide us. When I was a member of the state Senate, I was chairman of the Democratic caucus. We're 12 members strong, 12 members of 39. We can't pass a single bill with 12 members of 39. But when you build relationships and you demonstrate the importance of policy over politics, people over politics, it makes a difference. When you build those relationships that dictate that we can get beyond the manufactured differences and concentrate on the things that bring us together. I'm proud that in Louisiana, we certainly try to put Louisiana above. You know, we have those national big issues that we're always going to have challenges on. But when it comes to education, infrastructure, healthcare, safety, flooding, protection, economic development, jobs, those things aren't political. Those things aren't partisan. And we should continue to fight to build relationships to dictate that, you know, we're one Louisiana and we have to act that way. We're one America. We have to act that way. We'll always have issues that we have differences on. That's the nature of a representative form of government. That's the nature of people coming from different places. That's okay. What's not okay is that when we put our personal beliefs and philosophies ahead of the needs of the people, that we raise our right hands and swear to serve. I will continue to preach that every chance I can. I'll continue to attempt to be that bridge of reasonableness, that bridge of fighting for common sense, practical solutions to problems that oftentimes are stymied because of personality. We can't afford that. That's not a luxury we have. People send us to Washington or send us to city halls or the legislatures or the school boards or the parish governments to make their lives better, to fight for them, to make things better. And I wake up every day with that effort in mind.
Congressman Carter, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today, but I want to thank you tremendously for talking with us today, for this presentation, for your candid responses to our questions. We appreciate your participation.
Thank you so very much. I look forward to doing it again. And again, I extend my hand in partnership because no one person can do it alone. It's going to take all of us together rowing in the same direction. And I extend my hand in friendship and partnership that we together make a difference. We won't always agree, but it should always make us stronger.
Thank you. And thanks again to IBERIABANK First Horizon for its generous sponsorship of this breakfast briefing. And thanks to all of you for being with us today in our audience. As we mentioned earlier, a recording of today's event will be available on our website, bgr.org. The best way to stay on top of all BGR events and research is to become a member. We regularly engage with our members about our public policy work, and we value this dialogue. We also rely on our members to help amplify BGR's policy recommendations. So if you're not currently a member, please visit bgr.org to join the ranks of concerned citizens working to improve local government. We hope this event has been informative. We wish you and yours the very best in the days and weeks to come, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event.